What is going on, everybody? Well, I'm back today to do another list video, and the reason I'm doing a list video today is because it is my birthday, and I have turned 34 years old today, and every year on my birthday, I try to do a list or something related to me that's a little bit more personal than what I do, or like just something associated with movies that I love, and I was thinking about things to do for my list this year, and I thought what would be fun is to talk about some of the movies that inspired me to love movies and what made me fall in love with film. And I always feel like it's cool to hear people who talk about movies that they love and what kind of got them into movies in general. And this is just going to be a pretty small list, but these are really what shaped me to fall in love with film as a medium and to get into movies much more than just like going in, sitting down, and enjoying a movie. Movies that made me understand the technical elements of filmmaking or little attention to detail that I didn't necessarily think about before I watched these movies. And I'm excited to give you this list today. And as always, I just wanted to say I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking time to watch my videos. I do this every single year on my birthday because I have fun doing this, but I release a video every day, 365 days a year. And it's all because of you guys. I love doing it because of my passion for film and I love watching movies. But one of the things that has brought me a lot of joy in my life is experiencing the conversations that I get to have with each and every one of you in the comments. It's just a lot of fun for me to be able to share in those exchanges and to get your insight, because I think the beauty of movies is to really sit down and have discussions and understand different perspectives. And that's my favorite part of film, and I love that the community that's here that follows me always provides such incredible insight to these movies that I'm watching. And so I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. I'm a little under 500 subscribers away from 3,000, and just watching this channel grow has been an absolute blast. And so today I'm really excited to talk to you about some of the films that inspired me to fall in love with movies. So the first movie that I constantly credit to me really looking at film in a critical way is Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz. And I have praised this movie a ton of times on my YouTube channel and on my TikTok because I think this movie is a complete and total work of genius. I think Edgar Wright is a brilliant filmmaker. And what I love so much about this movie and what made me start to think more critically about how movies are made is the editing in this film. The editing feels so incredibly alive in every scene. And the way Edgar Wright utilizes editing in scenes to cut from character to character or to showcase something that is revealing about something that happens later on in the movie, it's just incredibly impressive. There's also musical cues in this movie that allude to things that are happening in the movie that I just think the time and effort and energy and attention to detail and each and every single scene creates such an immersive experience that you never want to leave this world. And I remember the first time I watched this movie, didn't understand technical elements about camera movement, didn't understand how certain editing things work and transitions, but I was just blown away at seeing how someone could make something seemingly so chaotic in moments that pays off in the end and that conveys so many different tones. It has some really great dramatic sequences. It's a horror movie at times. It's violent, it's action-packed, but it's able to balance each and every tone in a way that just works so seamlessly. And I don't think there are a lot of directors out there who would be able to pull something off this grandiose. And it's my favorite film in Edgar Wright's catalog. I feel like the humor just ages better and better over the years. I love a lot of the jokes in this movie. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost obviously have undeniable chemistry. You can tell they're friends in real life, and it just really bleeds through on the screen. And this is a movie I recommend to virtually everyone. I think it's a perfect comedy, a perfect action movie, and it's a film that really without it I would have not probably gotten into movies as much as I have, and probably would have never gone to film school, because this is really one of the movies that pushed me to want to pursue film as a whole. Next up, one of the other most important films to me that I credit constantly is Wes Anderson's The Life Aquatic. This movie showcased to me that you can make a movie about family dynamics and a strange relationship between parent and child, but do it in a way that also adds humor in it that feels so much like real life. The thing I love about Wes is is his deadpan sense of humor, because life is very difficult and challenging, and I love that he is able to convey so much about day-to-day life, but in a way that adds that comedy into it that just feels so poignant and realistic. And Wes has been criticized over the years for his style and how he does more of the same, but I commend Wes because I feel like the attention to detail and the cinematography and the production design and the performances that he gets from his actors are what makes his movies so special. And this one in particular, I know this isn't one of his favorites in his catalog. He talks about the first time working with a very large budget, not necessarily knowing what he should do, and scenes taking longer than they should. But I think what ends up happening in this movie is you get something very effective, and you get something that in the third act moves me emotionally every single time. And that's what's so great about the dialogue delivery and how deadpan a lot of it is. It creates these neutral canvases for characters that there are personality traits, but it makes it really easy for you to kind of jump in and understand these characters in a way that it would be impossible to watch one of these movies and not be able to attach yourself on to one person or the other. I love the music in this film. This is the movie that made me fall in love with the band Sigur Rós. I actually just saw them perform with a live orchestra recently. Absolutely beautiful experience. But the song Star Alpha in this movie is just beautiful. One of my favorite songs of all time. I think the use of it in this film is just amazing. I love all of the covers of the David Bowie songs. The original music by Mark Mothersbaugh for the score of the movie is great. And there's just so much about this movie that gets me thinking critically about what makes a movie special, and attention to detail and just all the intricacies that made me love movie making. And I always recommend this movie to people, and it's one of my favorites in Wes's catalog. Up next is David Lynch's Eraserhead. I watched this movie for the very first time in my early 20s, and it forever changed my life and my perspective on what movies can be. And I know this movie is not for everyone. It's very surreal, it's abstract. It doesn't necessarily look at you in the face and say, this is exactly what I'm going for. But I think that's what I love so much about this movie, is David Lynch has got me to rethink everything that I thought I knew about art as a kid. I was very set in my ways as a young kid as to what I liked and the types of things that I enjoyed, whether that be movies and TV shows I watched or music that I listened to. And I always thought my taste was superior to other people when I was younger. And it was a really kind of asinine attitude to have about art in general. And what I love so much about Lynch, and with Eraserhead in particular, is that he always discusses his favorite thing about movies and about film is people's reaction to it and what people's interpretations are, and what you get out of something is the most important thing. And that he has an idea in mind for when he creates something, but when he creates it, it once it's put out into the world, it's yours, and what you want to do with it to him is much more interesting than what he's perceiving it as. And I love that. I think that blank slate canvas of you going into a movie and saying, okay, I'm going to try to decipher what this is and I want to figure out what it means, is so much fun. And Eraserhead is one of those movies that I love listening to different opinions about. And not only is it fun to listen to that, but watching the movie in particular, it's beautifully shot. Some of the most stunning visuals I've ever seen in a movie. To think about Lynch working with such a limited budget and how many years it took him to make this because he kept running out of money. There's so many scenes that just stick out in my mind every time I think about this film. The sound design is some of the best I've ever seen in a movie. It's haunting. It sends chills up my spine in certain moments, and people argue whether or not this is a horror movie. I think it very much is, because it combines real life elements with very surrealist horror. Obviously, the baby is not something you would normally see, but I think it's an allegory for something so much more. This is a guy who wasn't ready for fatherhood, who's not even necessarily ready to carry on a regular job, and is forced into raising essentially a monster as a baby, and then contemplating whether or not he wants fatherhood, or if this person in the first place. And there's all these different questions that the film poses. And I find myself changing perspectives to the ending consistently when I watch the movie. And I think that's what makes a great movie, Any movie that can get under your skin and make you think long after it's over makes an incredible movie to me. And this is a movie from very early on that affected me and that has just grown my taste and love for film over the years. Up next is one of my favorite horror films of all time, and that's Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. I remember watching this movie my first time when I was like 17 or 18, and I just had a blast with it. And over the years, especially into my early 20s, I started to realize what makes this movie so incredibly special. And that's that, yes, it has comedic moments, but it's also genuinely horrifying. And I think being able to balance tone is something that makes a director so incredibly impressive. And Sam Raimi here does something that not a lot of directors are able to accomplish, and that's creating this environment that is so horrifying, being isolated in this space on your own, tortured by this evil entity, and trying to survive. And then later on, adding more characters in, but just ramping up to 1,000 from the first scene to the very end of the movie. It's a movie that over the years I've just grown to appreciate more and more. I think between the practical effects, the sound design, Bruce Campbell's incredible performance, there's just a lot to love. And to me, this is a perfect horror movie. I have no qualms with this. I think that it's amazing. And if you've never seen it before, it's one of the best to ever exist. So I don't want to go on forever today. I wanted to keep this list pretty brief. So the last one I'm going to mention, this movie came out in my early 20s, and that is Spike Jonze' Her. And this is what really made me fall in love with just cinema as an art form, as far as the attention to detail and cinematography, and creating a world that feels so achievable, but that we're not necessarily there yet. And getting this deep, real, raw, emotional response from an audience from a subject that could be very challenging for people. I remember when this came out in the early 2010s. And I was in my 20s, my early 20s. And I remember when the reviews for this first came out, the big thing that was going around was, it's a guy who has sex with his phone. And there were people that were so just awful about it and like making fun of it and really treating it as this like really dumb concept. And I went in and watched the movie and just could not get over how beautiful it was. And the concept of just loneliness, emotional isolation, yearning for companionship, being in a marriage and that marriage being abandoned, and trying to find solace in anything and utilizing technology as an outlet for that rather than just finding love in someone else. It really got me appreciating abstract concepts in film, being able to take risks, doing something that not necessarily everyone else is going to think up. And that's what I love that Spike Jonze does with this. Not only are the performances in this just absolutely exceptional, Joaquin Phoenix is great, Scarlett Johansson for just delivering a vocal performance is phenomenal, but the movie just has so much to say in the most beautiful way possible. As I continue to grow older, this has become a comfort movie for me. Every time that I revisit it, I just grow to love it even more. And I would implore you, if you've never seen this movie before, please go watch it because it is beautiful. So what are some movies that made you fall in love with film? This is just a very brief list. I could have made a list probably 40 films long, but these are movies from early in my life that really inspired me to want to pursue a degree in film and to learn and study film on a deeper level. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. As I said at the beginning of the video, I appreciate each and every one of you for taking time to watch my videos every week. I put a lot of time and effort and energy into watching these movies, editing these videos, and to get a video out each and every day. And I love having a wide array of content for people to be able to choose from. I try to cover a wide array of genres. Right now, I'm really hyper-focused on horror because it's October, but I love covering all different styles and genres of movies and being able to have a conversation about films all over the spectrum. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.